So in May of 2022, my husband, who was a staff sergeant in the United States Marine Corps, was found to be in possession of child pornography. And I don't mean like one or two images, I mean 2,000 plus images and videos. And naturally, he was convicted by November of 2022, and I found myself a single mom of 4 very small children. And I know what you're going to say, Sherry, he was already abusing you. Why on earth were you still in that marriage anyway? And I've kind of talked about it on this page. Honestly, I've talked about it quite a bit. But it is very hard for an abuse victim to pull themselves out of that cycle of abuse. However, something as extreme as child pornography, that ripped me right out. That was the day that everything for me, absolutely no way was I going to continue living with this man. Absolutely no way was I ever going to allow this man to harm me or my children again. And so I was the one who reported him, and I thought I did everything right. I thought that by reporting him, it was going to put him away for a very long time, and that naturally the children would never have to see this man again. As it turns out, the military judicial system really isn't set up for crimes that occur in the civilian world. But for some unknown reason, they still prosecute crimes that occur on bases. And because we lived on Camp Pendleton at the time, they took the case. And so the judge decided that my husband should get the minimum penalty for a crime of this magnitude. And the minimum penalty for child pornography in the Marine Corps is 2 years. And he was given these 2 years because being under a general court-martial, if you're convicted, means you will automatically be dishonorably discharged from the Marine Corps upon completion of your other sentence. And so in her mind, he was already a staff sergeant. He had already expressed that he had intended to make this a career. In fact, right before he was arrested, he had submitted his application for warrant officer school. And so in her mind, him losing his career was enough punishment as it was, but it obviously, because of the nature of the crime, he had to face some sort of prison sentence. So she gave him 24 months. It turns out in the civilian world, as much child pornography as he had, and because it was online, that turns it into a federal offense. He would have faced at least 3 years, but more than likely more than 5. So he got a very small sentence because he was sentenced in the Marine Corps, and as a result, it has also locked all the documents from his court-martial. You can only view the redacted trial of record, which thankfully does include the portion that says he has to register as a sex offender. However, in January, he was finally dishonorably discharged from the Marine Corps and moved back to Arkansas. Arkansas state laws say you have about 2 to 3 days, I believe, to register as a sex offender upon moving there. Well, we are in March, and he is not on any sex offender registry that I can view online anyway. And so I reached out recently and asked if anybody knew how I'd go about reporting this, because we are from a very rural community and I do not live in that state any longer because I didn't feel safe living in a state I knew he was going to move back to, and there was a very high probability we would run into each other because it is a community where there's like one Walmart within, like an hour. Like, it was very likely we'd run into each other. And so everybody in that community knows each other, and as a result, children they can run free. They're probably a little more trusting of people just because everybody knows everybody. And everybody knew him. And they knew him as a Marine that they were really proud of. And so I knew he already had an upper hand in that he had access to children the moment he went home. And I don't understand how on earth he managed to get around it, other than the fact that the military means, him being charged and convicted in the military means that his court documents aren't within a process server that like law enforcement can readily see. And so I guess he just slipped through the cracks. And so I found a way to report him, and because it's such a small community, everybody very quickly found out. And as of today, I believe an investigation is opening, and he is very likely facing some very serious penalties, if not more jail time, because this man did not register as a sex offender when he should have. And to me, this shows that the military justice system really needs an overhauling. I completely understand why we have a military justice system, because people deserve to be judged by a panel of their peers, and civilians can't really adequately assess crimes that are war crimes because we don't really have an understanding of military law. And some crimes that happen within the military aren't even crimes in the civilian world. But I don't understand why we are still having crimes that are basically civilian crimes being prosecuted by military justice systems who then don't alert other states about what happened. And I'm just wondering how many unregistered sex offenders are out there from the military, just from the military, all because they were able to slip through the cracks. Like, it just makes me so nervous and so angry. Like, how does that even happen? So that's where we are today. And it is, I guess, slightly positive news because, I mean, if we can protect even one child, that's going to make me happy. So I guess we'll see how it goes. And here's hoping that he will have to register. And here's hoping, honestly, that he faces a penalty for it, because that is inexcusable. He knows he's supposed to register, and he flat out didn't.